Before the break, I discussed the very latest Israeli atrocities in Gaza, including this morning's bombing of Al Ahli Hospital, atrocities that get less and less media attention and have almost become normalized. Journalist and author Omar Al-Aad has been covering this closely and has a powerful new book out called One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. Omar, the title of your book comes from this post on X back on October 25th, replying to a horrific video of the destruction of Gaza. You write, or you wrote back then, one day when it is safe, when there's no personal downside to calling a thing what it is, when it is too late to hold anyone accountable, everyone will have always been against this. Can you take us back? Can you take yourself back to your mindset there 18 months ago when you wrote that? What did you foresee coming back then?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I've never been much of a social media guy. I would sort of tweet once a month back then, and I don't do any of that stuff anymore. So I didn't think that tweet would get the traction that it did, obviously. But to me, it was a function of pattern recognition more than anything else. It's very difficult today to find someone who will tell you that they were proudly pro-South African apartheid or pro-segregation in this country. And what has changed is not the grotesqueness of the event or the act. It's that enough time has passed where it is now socially unacceptable not to have been against that in hindsight. One of the things I've realized since the book has come out is that a lot of people sort of read that title and think that I mean next week or something like that when we're talking about an occupation that has been going on for 3/4 of a century. I don't know if I'm going to live long enough to see that day as it relates to the treatment of the Palestinian people. But everything I've seen of these kinds of moments in history lead me to believe that it is coming.
You know, for those who have read your book, it is not simply about Gaza. I mean, the title, as you mentioned, is applicable to anything. It's an American story, an immigrant story about a belief in American values and really Western values. That you've been a journalist for 20 years here in the United States. You've reported on things like Black Lives Matter, the Ferguson protests, the war on terror, and now you weave in to it what is happening in Gaza. At what point did that belief in so-called Western values start to fray for you?
I mean, I tend to think of it in terms of the same way that Hemingway's characters went bankrupt, little by little and then all at once sort of thing. I realize that it's very much seen as a book about Israel and Palestine. Of course, I almost certainly would have not written this book were it not for the slaughter in Gaza over the last year and a half. But I think of it very much as a book about this part of the world and about what it means to exist as a liberal, as a mainstream centrist in this part of the world, and what you sort of have to look away from in order to make that calculus work on a moral level. Before you and I started talking, I was on the Zoom call, watching the previous segment, the monologue, and I'm watching these images of human beings who have been subjected to the worst things human beings can do to one another. I'm watching children begging for food. And the expectation is that in the 3-minute commercial break between then and now, I will have quickly regained my composure and killed off whatever part of me is human enough to be affected by this, such that we can have this conversation. I think there's a version of that is going on throughout this country. I mean, I've been on the road for 2.5 months doing book events where we talk about these things. And after every event, almost without exception, there's somebody who'll come talk to me for whom none of this has existed for the last year and a half. Because they, like me, like you, live in a part of the world where there is essentially no downside or repercussion to looking away. And I think that, to me, has more to do with what this book is about than anything else. This privilege of living on the launching end of the missiles and having essentially no consequences of not caring about where those missiles land or what damage they do.
How does that change? What do you think, based on what you have seen, what you have witnessed, how do we as a society change that, where these images that we're seeing coming out of Gaza can have an impact, can have a change on the way our policymakers, our society functions in relation to it. I mean, there was an awful attack by Russia in Ukraine today. Ukrainians were killed. There's a disparity in the coverage of what is happening to Ukrainians versus what is happening to Palestinians. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think it's difficult for me to answer that question without sort of admitting my own complicity in all of this, because my natural tendency as somebody who has benefited from living on this side of the planet for a very long time is to try and appeal towards some distant future where these horrors are coming to your doorstep and my doorstep, which is to say, the quadcopter that snipes a Palestinian kid today will soon be employed in this part of the world at some point if you don't stand up and do something about it. But again, the implicit part of that statement, which is sort of unsaid but very much implied, is that, yes, right now it's happening to somebody who doesn't matter, but you need to do something about it because one day it'll happen to somebody who does matter, which again is a very morally bankrupt way to try and establish a moral position. So right. I think for me, the way we change this is to understand that the damage being done to our souls and to our conscience by looking away from this right now is present and current and is not going to go away. And this administration and coming administrations are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, of course. And as I was saying earlier, the banality of evil falls upon all of us, not to just sit by and watch as this type of atrocity becomes normalized. Omar Al-Aqad, the book, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against, is an incredible read. I encourage everyone to read it. Thank you so much, Omar, for joining us. I greatly appreciate it.